A rain-filled day of Bucharest means we're going to get a packed day on Friday. What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. We got our day 5 recap and picks. We're going to give you some hypotheticals because we're going to have the round of 16 matches complete and the quarterfinals are going to be played in the same day. So we'll give you a few hypotheticals to deal with here. Let's take a look at the draw. Here's a look at Diallo's half of the draw. Diallo obviously having since been eliminated by Molcan. Um, we made our picks for these matches in our day 4 video, so full breakdown of those the round of 16 matches and a look at the pick are in there. But I'll give you guys the cliff notes here. I like Navone to beat Molcan. I think it's going to be a straight setter. I think Navone playing extremely good clay court tennis. He looked amazing against Moeller. I think we're going to see more of the same against Molcan. I just thought Diallo just wasn't. He was playing hardcore tennis on the clay. That's really not going to work, especially when you go up against a seasoned clay quarter like Molcan. But Navone's comfortable on the clay. He's got a little bit more prowess. He'll be able to take care of Molcan in straights. So I have him advancing through to the semis. On the other side, we have Dzumhur playing Zandschulp, and this is going to be a three-setter in my opinion, no matter what. I think this is going to be an extremely close match between these two guys. I just really liked what I saw from Dzumhur. I thought for him to win that first set, especially being up, I think he was up 4-1, cruising against Borges. Borges is able to mount a comeback. He looks extremely strong, and Dzumhur still able to just mentally hold on there. We talk about how Dzumhur can be his worst enemy at times. You know, he can get down on himself. He can yell at his coaching box, but for him to be able to win that match, I thought was an extremely big step forward for me to see here, and I think he's going to have a lot of confidence with that win over Borges. And Zandschulp obviously looking great against Shevchenko. The serve looked good. His strokes, he was able to get through Shevchenko and just putting a lot of pressure on the Shevchenko serve. I think it was the second serve that Shevchenko struggled on this clay surface. Well, I don't think Zandschulp's going to have as much success against the Dzumhur second serve. We will see, but I got Dzumhur advancing. I think that one's going to be in 3 sets as well. So then we have a Navone and Dzumhur semifinal. We'll talk about that one when we get to it. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Mannarino's half of the draw. And the reason why I wanted to make this video was because we're going to have the quarterfinals are going to be played tomorrow after the round of 16 matches are complete. I think the players get a few hours rest and then they got to be right back on to play the quarters. So we're going to really see a test of endurance from some of these guys, especially, you know, like I saw that they were going to play the quarters and immediately thought of Merida, who I think is going to be able to take out Mannarino. Now there's a little bit more pressure for him to do it more convincingly because I don't know how much energy he has left. Obviously, getting the day off today probably helps. You know, he's able to rest the body. I believe he played 2 3-setters to get out into to get through the qualifiers. Now he played a tough 3-setter against Virtanen. So not sure how much we have left in the tank for him. I think the Mannarino match is going to be a little bit more challenging than people think. I think he's a heavy favorite in that match. And I agree, like I don't think he loses it, but I think it's going to be fairly closer than people are saying. Like he's like at minus 300 or 400 or something to win the match. I don't agree with that. I think Mannarino's going to have some chances to play him tough in that match. Because we got to think, you know, obviously Mannarino, not a great clay quarter, but he is a seasoned veteran. You know, like he can play these matches. He knows how to play against some of the lower tier guys like Merida. But I immediately thought, you know, like this is going to be so much in favor of Baez. We know Sebi Baez, he's an absolute tank. He can get through 2 matches in 2 days. I think this really puts Merida at a disadvantage. So just talking a little bit about that Baez Merida match, you know, I have Baez getting through Droguet. I think that's going to be a straightforward match. It might be an interesting match though, because you got Droguet's more of a bigger hitter, and Baez kind of plays into the Baez game. That's why I don't really see him bothering Baez too much. But looking at this Merida Baez head to head, if we have this in the quarters, these guys have not played before. we would have Merida would be 4-1 on the clay. Baez would be 5-3. Baez, I just feel like you gotta look at how long these guys were on court for the match before. I think if Merida has a 3-setter or even a tough 2-setter, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward affair for Baez to get through that match. So definitely keep your eye out for that. I would favor Baez to get through to the semifinals here. Let's take a look at the other side. I kind of jumped to that one because that was the first match that really stood out to me, that this is going to favor Baez tremendously to get through this half of the draw. We have Prizmic and Altmaier. We picked Prizmic to get through this one. I could see potentially Altmaier getting through, but guys, remember, he's coming off a challenger as well, that he made the finals of. So you're talking about, yeah, like he looked great against Martinez, but if he has a tough match against Prizmic and then has to turn around and play Maroszan or Sakellaridis again in the same day, I think that's going to be a little bit too much for the Altmaier body. So be aware of that, If Altmaier does get through Prizmic, it's probably not going to be an easy match, and he's probably going to lose in the next round. We talk about Sakellaridis and Maroszan. I think Maroszan's going to get through. For some reason, I feel like that's going to be a much trickier match than we think it's going to be. I just don't trust Maroszan right now to win these matches if we get a Maroszan and Prizmic match. So if we get a Maroszan and Altmaier match, I would pick Maroszan because of the time on court that Altmaier's had in the last week and a half. If we get Maroszan and Prizmic, I want to lean Prizmic. Let me take a look at their head-to-head. I like his game. I just don't trust the game of Maroszan right now. He's really been struggling since the Australian Open, where he lost to, I believe it was Medvedev in 5, but had a 2-1 lead. No head-to-head for these guys. Prizmic did get a walkover from Maroszan in the Banja Luka Challenger in 2023, so I'm happy they didn't count that in the head-to-head, because that's always a little bit confusing. But Maroszan right now sitting at 0-1 on the clay. Remember, he did play, I believe it was Ethan Quinn on the clay and lost. He had chances to win that match and lost. So not a great loss. Ethan Quinn, not a tremendous clay quarter. He did look okay last year on the clay, but not somebody that you kind of hang your hat on and say, well, that's okay that I lost to them. Prizmic, on the other hand, sitting at 6-2 on the clay, had a nice second round appearance in the Chile Open. And we talked a little bit about, I liked how Prizmic was able to get through that Nicolas Jarry match in Chile. Jarry, that was a night match. All the Chileans were loud, whistling, and Prizmic was able to kind of stick to it and win that match 6-3, 5-7, 6-2. I think that just shows a little bit of mental fortitude for a guy like Prizmic, just able to be able to get through a match. He's a better player than Jarry, but sometimes on days like that where the crowd is jeering at you and everything, it's a little bit harder to focus. So I like him to get through. This match against Maroszan. I would pick him to advance to the semifinals where he would play Sebi Baez. That's my hypothetical scenario, guys. We'll see how we do here with our round of 16 picks and our quarterfinal picks. But share your picks in the comments. Let me know. Would love to hear from you guys. And our record still stays the same here. We're still 1-3. Hopefully we do a little bit better on our round of 16 matches tomorrow. We'll see how we do. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We will have another video out for the Marrakesh Open recap and the Houston Open recap. Looking forward to it. I'll see you guys in the next video.